Hello, what I know about Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 and why is Yuya, Sakaki my favorite protagonist in Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, first off, Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 really revolves around multiverse theory. You have recurring characters such as Jack Atlas, Alexis, and more. It's really a diverse solar system in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now let's backtrack for a little bit and recognize that Yuya is revolving around, performing. His father is a big performer, which is what, Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 is all about. It's over, 10 years old. No wonder how long ago it came out in Japan, but it's one of those, legendary Yu-Gi-Ohs that, you judge at first, but, you have to, remember, in the current times, it was becoming the next Avatar, the next Airbender, I figured out about it, through Nickelodeon. But in sub, it's a deadly Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it introduces Pendulum Summoning, which is really good in the game. That's still popular to this day. Some people use my, exactly tactic to use Pendulum monsters in order, to fuse and gain Link monsters. What Pendulum monsters are is they have more numbers in the field. They can summon more monsters and have more attack points, which is why they're deadly. But another side of that is that they're kind of slow when it comes to start up in gameplay because now Pendulum monsters can have special abilities. So what Yuya is known for is he has 2-star. He has one of the most unique hairstyles in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! He does compete with Yami in terms of character design, but he doesn't compete with Jaden in terms of integrity through and through. And you say we already know how you feel about that, but why is he my favorite? As Yuya Sakaki, my favorite protagonist in Yu-Gi-Oh! Brace yourself because I'm a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! My channel, I have a whole bunch of duels. I can remake, a really good anime, fight scenes that happen, in the show. Do Yu-Gi-Oh! So please get excited for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Mastermind boot tricks explaining literally how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! On his channel. Now, this Yu-Gi-Oh! Revolves around all the other gameplays because if you don't know, Arc 5 is right after Zexo, and Zexo is the one where they have ritual summonings when, Yuma has his Gaga Magician. No pun intended. And how you exceed summon is you have two monsters that are the same level, and some them to the field, XYZs, are normally, 2,500, attack, points. Virtual summoning is going in and out of the game, which is why, the Zexo has some, one of the most, colored hair, village, protagonist. Because I got so mad, I looked up if Yuya was literally the kid of Yuma, but he actually has his own father in the show, and it looks a lot like Bardock if you actually watch Dragon Ball Z. Yuya's hair design is based on Rastafarian, literally, and it reminds me a whole lot of, Knuckles, the echidna who protects the Chaos Emeralds from Sonic. The reason why Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 has such colorful hair designs is because it wasn't, a modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! It was an old Yu-Gi-Oh! It was just here to explain literally what a Yu-Gi-Oh! Is. And so literally, and that's the thing I like about Arc 5, it doesn't, stretch out or exaggerate the characters to the point where we recognize there are certain characters like Sora, Shane, there's actually a Shane in this Yu-Gi-Oh! Not Zane, but Shane, all have the same drip as Yuya. Arc 5 starts literally is Yuya in a duel academy with his best friend Yuzu, his friend Gong, literally when they grew up in, a duel, dojo academy. Why Yuya is so hard in the show is because he has these two main magicians that are Stargazer Magician and Time Gazer Magician, which is his signature move in the show. If you don't know, a pendulum literally is a skill between two things, literally, and they have that the same in a trial in court. Because what pendulum is it scales two monsters literally from levels, 3 to 8, and what happens is if you have monsters, through 3 to 8, you can summon every single monster like that on the field. And some pendulums have special abilities, so it was a pretty, hex power, so it was the Rastafari of Yu-Gi-Oh! It was, the Yu-Gi-Oh! That actually was inspired by that once seen by Future Trunks, which is why they have so many air dimensions. I mean, in fact, literally, there's so many copies of the main character Yuya. There's Yuri. There's also a blue and yellow-haired character named Yuto, who hits on literally Zuzu at the end of the day. This Yu-Gi-Oh! Does it goes into the air dimension and introduces new characters, which is where Yuri is from, and it revolves around multiverse theory. Future Trunks. The current statement I'm saying for this video is that the only, reason why, Yusei was better than, Yuya was for obvious reasons. That was a masculine reason like Goku, but he was still, a good addition. But this isn't the 4th Yu-Gi-Oh! It's the 5th Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's, really complicated. And that's why it's called Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. He also has Performer Pal Magician, and he has a Performer Pal deck that goes hand in hand, virtual reality, with stuff animals to a point where, it's not just, a cute Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a strategic Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, has a lot He even has, a current, teacher. Principal of his duel academy is kind of goofy, literally, and he has, this thing. When he beats Yuya, he says, "Where's your confidence?" Which is really fake, for Yu-Gi-Oh! It starts off is the rival school has a duel, literally, with Yuya's academy, and him and Zuzu have, the two fights to stand up for the school. If they lose the school with Gong. First off, literally, Yuya almost, I think he loses, his very first match. It's a dude with purple hair, I forgot, but they're all three in the academy. The best thing about this is Zuzu has the second match, and he ends up finding a black girl from Yu-Gi-Oh! It's very rare that we have a black girl in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's not true. In Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, there was Axel Brody and there was Hasselberry. The best part about this Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that the black girl fights within the first 10 episodes along Zuzu. That's why I always remember, from downloading episodes online. Literally, it's all about, the first 10 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. What happens is, Gong, fights afterwards, other than, Yuya. And what ends up happening is Yuya literally gets his confidence back, and then he fights, the principal of the other school, and I think his name is Rio or something. He has a silver, hair, a very sophisticated, hairstyle, but the thing about this is he has 3 things in his deck, literally, and he can destroy, Yuya, but it pans out, literally, like Future Trunks, and what ends up happening is they end up going to a tournament, right, where Julia, Crystal, I actually mess around with Julia's deck to the point where I've used Jesse's and Julia's deck at the same time. It's really good. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 really had marathon on Pluto TV, I knew it wasn't off because Yuya's duel with Jack Atlas was the definitive fight for the series. Because that's around episode 30 where they have the race and they have cycling, the same thing they have in 5Ds. This is where Atlas is actually from. Right after he faced Gom. When he faced Gom, Lily was hella funny. Him and Gom happened around, episode 47, Lily. It was actually a recap of his duel with Jack Atlas. That's where I left off, basically, especially when he went to jail, Lily, with Crow. Everyone in jail, Lily. Yuya, Lily, has been to jail in Arc 5, Lily, more times than I can count. Definitely has a gangster anime design. When he goes to jail, Lily is well off in the tournament, because what happens after the tournament, Lily, is they start arresting thugs on the street. And then also, another defiant thing that should deploy your Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, Lily, is when Julia, Lily, and all the other schools, Lily, fight on the street against Shane. Shane knocks him out on the street, but even beforehand, Lily, Yuri comes into play right in the middle of the tournament when Yuya has his rematch. This guy, I think his friend's name is, I think, Julio. But anyway, Lily, he fights Julio in the tournament, also where Yuzu gets a rematch with the black girl. After Shane has his fight with Sora, that's well crafted around the first 40 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. What confused me on Pluto TV is I know that he has a curse mark transformation. Yuya has, a classic, transformation called Zarks. And, Yuri takes advantage of it. I know everything, the fact that it revolved around, 3 people, Yuto, Yuri, and Zarks. Lexus was in there. That's why I'm big at in Arc 5, but even so, the in-between duel that I didn't think about, the time when, Sora actually fought Shane for a second time. I got obsessed with Shane. I'm like, Lily, what's the whole thing, with Sora and Shane? That I figured out that he has, a thing against the fusion dimension, which is what Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, takes place at. One of the dimensions at once, which is why they have recurring characters such as Master Phoenix, also for Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and the famous sidekick of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, Crow. Crow was in jail with Yuya. Crow was everything with Yuya. Lily, I know what Crow is. What Crow is, Lily, in anime, is he's Lily, the worst Lily sidekick of anybody. That includes Cyrus and Jaden, for a long time. Crow was there because he sucks, Lily. He accompanied, Yuya, and I was on that episode. So I'm telling you, Lily, when he hooks up with Crow, Lily, when everything's, all falling into place, including Amanda, ends up happening was, I think I'm lost, but really I left off, in Verve, really, when Yuya's just about, to fight his mom. Yuya's about, duel his mom in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. And back where his mom is at, it's like 74, Lily. So where we get to 74 Yuto, Lily, is like, so Yuto's Lily, pimping Yuzu, for a lot during these episodes. So I saw the fight on the street with Julia. Remember Jack Atlas, Lily, I know he's gonna transform, I know Yuri's gonna do something. Where did I miss off? Lily, is about questioning today, Lily, because I literally watched, 24/7, and then I recognized Lily, Aster does have, a good duel, but for the majority of the part, Lily, what's the difference, because Yu-Gi-Oh! 5 only has, 145 episodes. I'm like, that's not that much, from established Lily for what goes in. Because after the tournament, Lily, is when they start the war, and Lily, when they go to jail, and after they go to jail, is where it becomes intergalactic. The reason why Yuya is my favorite is because it's actually more tactical than everybody else, Lily, because his cards are longer and have more that go in the gameplay. So strategically, he breaks down more than everybody else. I like him, Lily, because he has, the best, friends, sidekicks and people all the way to the point he's motivational, Lily. Yuya has the catchphrase, I'm feeling the flow. Yuya gains, a better mentality throughout the show. I know his dad, comes in duels at one point, and he does have a rivalry with somebody who's completely calm and collect, like Ryu. But the reason why I like him so much, really, is because of the way he plays. His deck, his abilities, way more diverse than everybody else. I feel like he's way more unique than, Yusei. I feel like he rivals, Yugi in terms of that, but in terms, of both really going up on Nickelodeon as a little kid, which is far low, I feel like they're equal in terms of character design, literally, and inspirational because of how much proportion that Yuya has. So what Yuya has is he has his characters, break him down, literally, within the fight and duel to a point where he's riding on fucking line. He's thinking about his next strategy, literally, he's going to death, but it's actually way more strategic than any other Yu-Gi-Oh! And because his slot is like Russian roulette, literally, his duels turn out actually unique because one card, feeds into another. It's not like Jaden, spamming, a promulgation and special ability. It actually plays out naturally like how you're supposed to fight in real life. So again, what did was a straightforward, literally, if you're old like me and you have perspective, but for a child you introduce, they try to say that's all that has to do with the animes. How they give you, a concrete, color, concrete, animation, everything else, that it has a very good proportion in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 is one of the best, and you're still using, the game system today. So if you take, your mind out, of an adult and inner child, then it's the same, inspirational as the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Overall, it's the most strategic. So anyway, this is Eris, and this is how I feel about Yuya from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5.